Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, another in my series of heavy thoughts. This is where I take a moment to ramble on for a bit about some things that have been on my mind. So my heavy thought for today is reissues, remasters. When is too much too much? How many do we really need? This is something that I always seem to get into these discussions with friends. When you see a band like Black Sabbath reissuing, remastering, Paranoid for the millionth time. I have this joke I do with my friends where I say, yeah, the new Paranoid remaster. I mean, it's almost insane how many times some bands have reissued and remastered their catalog, put it in a box set, put it on limited edition colored vinyl, add some one bonus track to it or something, and it's starting to get to the point with this stuff where it's like, man, where is the breaking point with this? I mean, going back to an album like Paranoid, how many times have I bought that album on different formats? I originally had it on vinyl, then I had it on cassette, then I bought it when it first came out on CD. I have the deluxe version. I have the I must have like 6-7 different CD versions of that album. And then you think about the vinyl, the cassettes, the different vinyl versions, and man, it gets to a point where it just becomes, in my opinion, it becomes too much. And when are they taking advantage of the fans, of the hardcore fans? Because see, that's the thing. There's fans like us. We're diehard. We're into this. And when you take your favorite bands for me like Black Sabbath or Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, we want to have everything. And when it's a classic album like this, you sort of get excited. Maybe there's some bonus tracks on it. You know, Black Sabbath, if you can't really see it from here, but I've got the Volume 4 box set. Black Sabbath is doing these box set things. And, you know, as a fan, you feel like you want to get these things. And a lot of times there's like one or two things on it that you want. And sometimes it feels like, man, is this really worth it? And for me personally, a while ago, I sort of made a decision that, you know, unless there's something really unique in this reissue, in this repackaging, I just kind of stick with the original versions that I know. They may be flawed, you know, for instance, with Black Sabbath, the original Warner Brothers. That's what I grew up on, those versions of those albums. And unless there's something that I feel like I really, really need, I've been holding off on buying some of these things because it just gets to be too much. Like that Volume 4 box set. I don't like the remaster of the album on there. I don't like, and I've talked about the difference between remixes and remasters. I just did a video last week on that. Check out that video. In fact, I was going to make this video last week, but I thought I should address the whole remix reissue thing. So go back, check out that episode for more clarity on this topic. So the Volume 4 box set, I don't really like the way they remastered the album. It just sounds like a bizarre EQ curve to me, like they jacked up the bass and the treble. It just sounds really strange to me, so I don't like that. The other stuff are like outtakes, which are interesting, but how many times am I really going to listen to them? And you know, there's like multiple versions of Wheels of Confusion on there, and they're not really that much different between each other. I mean, it's interesting, but the thing that really sells that box set for me is the Live at Last. Now, this is a remix. Again, go back to the old video for more clarity on this. They must have had the original master tapes for that live album, and they remixed it. The stereo spread is different. The crowd noise is different. So in some ways, that I guess was worth the price, to get that, because it does really sound like a completely different album, and there is a few minutes here and there of stuff that wasn't on the original. But there's way too many times when things come out remastered and one bonus track, or maybe there's like a mono mix of something, and it's just kind of like, really, Black Sabbath just did Mob Rules, or I'm sorry, Heaven and Hell. They did Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell. Mob Rules has a live show that they've never released, so okay, that makes it worth it. But the Heaven and Hell one is just they had already done like a deluxe version of it, and it's basically the exact same thing. And it's like, man, how many times can you keep putting stuff out and expecting people to buy this stuff? And with the prices of vinyl, and I get it, like, people aren't buying stuff like they used to, so they keep coming back to these classic bands and their classic albums, and they keep going back to the well. And it makes me wonder, like, when is it going to reach a point where just the majority of fans just put their hands up in the air and say, man, this is enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I don't remember where I heard this. If I read it online somewhere, I think I may have read it on the Steve Hoffman forum, or maybe I saw somebody on a YouTube video talking about it, where they said they read an article or spoke to someone who worked at a record company. And this person at the record company was saying they feel like they have like a 5 to 10 year window left of being able to keep repackaging and redoing these albums. And then at that point, they feel like the people will have aged out of buying these things. Because let's face it, the people who buy this stuff tend to be people like my age or older, or around my age, people who grew up with this stuff, who these albums, they want to hear these albums in these different formats. They're willing to pay for the extra money for the bonus tracks and stuff. I mean, some young kid who's maybe discovering Black Sabbath for the first time and just getting into Paranoid, are they really going to walk in? They walk into this store and they see the single CD version for $10, or they see the deluxe box set version for $120. Are they really going to shell out the $120? Probably not. They're new to the band. They're just going to buy the regular album. Maybe if they become lifetime fans somewhere down the road, they'll want all that extra stuff. But really, this stuff is geared towards sort of these hardcore fans, the collectors and stuff. And it just sort of begs the question, when is enough? When is too much too much? How many times can you keep repackaging these things? I mean, there's some bands that are really... that really sort of abuse this. Like Black Sabbath is one, in my opinion, that they just keep repackaging these first 8 albums. Ozzy's catalog has had this repackaged and redone a bunch of times. Then there's other bands like AC/DC, where honestly, they remastered their albums at one point, but and they put out stuff like the Backtracks box set, which to me is totally cool. It makes sense. They put all the B-sides, rare live stuff that they got. They put all that stuff on those box sets, the Backtracks, I think is what it was called, box sets that they did. The Bonfire box set had a bunch of live shows and unreleased stuff. So AC/DC seems to do it the right way. They take all this unreleased stuff, put it in one place, put it out there for the fans who are going to want this stuff, put it in a nice packaging. They put out those nice DVD box sets where they collected all the old videos and stuff. And then they didn't seem to just keep putting out remastered versions, repackaged versions of their stuff. They sort of put out what they got, and they left it at that, which I think is cool. That's the way to do it. Put it out there for the people. I understand that things, when CDs first came out, they didn't quite have the technology. So a lot of those CDs were just straight transfers from the analog tapes, which I personally love. But some people, their catalogs did need to be remastered and touched up. And so that was cool. When that stuff was happening, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, when all the sort of bonus track editions were coming out. I thought that that was cool. But now when you're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 remastered versions, it becomes too much. So, and you reach a breaking point, and I think I've reached a breaking point with certain bands that I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna buy this. I've got my versions that I'm comfortable with, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. So, all right. So, let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? What do you think of all these remastered reissues? Box sets, where do you draw the line? Zeppelin had all these massive box sets, and I love Zeppelin, but it was just like, whoa, the price on these things was just crazy. Now, some bands, in my opinion, do it right. Jethro Tull, the Steve Wilson remixes, again, really giving you some value for your money. Those boxes that they put out had DVDs and live stuff and everything on it, so I think that those were done right. But let me know in the comments, when is enough for you guys? How many times can you buy the same album over and over again? Are you a collector that just buys everything, or are you somebody that's more picky? Let me know where the line in the sand is for you guys when it comes to reissues and box sets and remasters. Let me know down below in the comments. Lair the Alchemist, Facebook, Twitch, the Spotify, Lair the Alchemist, all that stuff. Hit like and subscribe, and until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.